Welcome to Don't Fake the Funk. We're here today, special guest from Australia. You all know him, Danny Pin. What's up, Danny?
Hey Leon, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on because I'm a huge fan of your podcast, of your show. I wouldn't even call it a podcast really. It's more like it's a show with all the
Yeah,
music, you know.
it sort of straddles genres a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's for me. It's the most professional like show podcast with music added and how you put in little clips and stuff. I really like it how you edit it. You have it really figured out.
Yeah, thanks. It's because I do it live and it's pretty much in a radio format.
Exactly.
There's an opportunity there to do little audio drops and stuff. So, and I can just choose on the fly what I want to play out. So it's good. It also gives me an opportunity to play little promos for other people's podcasts. So I like to do that as well.
Yeah, that's the big part that your podcast is live. So there's always on Saturdays a lot of interaction on Twitter. Like you're basically on the air live and you read the tweet and then you reply to the tweet or mention it on the show. So it's kind of cool, just this
Yeah,
interaction.
that the interactive part of it
Yeah.
is I've discovered. Yeah, that's what really makes it unique and makes it work. People listening know that I'm listening to them as well. So it's more like a community rather than me having a show and everyone listen to me. It's sort of, I like to make it everybody's show, and it sort of just happened by accident. But now that it's happening, it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoy listening. And just real quick for our listeners, Lucas is not here right now, but that doesn't mean that he's not part of the show anymore. He's still part of the podcast, but he just had some technical difficulties with logging into Skype. So if he can log in later, he'll gonna call in and we'll add him to the conversation. But right now he's not. He can't get in. He just can't log in. I don't know. So
Hopefully you'll figure it out
he'll be
and
back
join
next
us.
time. Yeah. So normally this would be like our episode 20 of Don't Fake the Funk, but if Lucas can't call it, I'm just gonna name it 19.5. Just one in between, a little one in between, because without him,
It's like,
it wouldn't be like the real thing, because we've been doing that from the beginning together. So yeah, actually we started. I think the first one was before Christmas, actually, like last year. So
I
yeah.
think I remember that one. Was that a live one that you did?
Well, yeah, we had like this other guy. I don't remember his Twitter name, but he had like a little show on Ustream, and Waterboxer, me, and then later Lucas. We called in, just kept talking, and I recorded it with Callgraph, this little Skype app. Then I just put it up on YouTube because the guy who hosted it, he couldn't figure out how to do it, and yeah, so I just did it for him.
Right.
Yeah, and then from there, me and Lucas kept talking and decided, why not? And Waterboxer came up with the name, Don't Fake the Funk. So,
Yeah,
so we
it's
just,
very Waterboxer, isn't
yeah,
it?
we just came up. Yeah, we just decided, why not do it? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because
All the best.
go
Sorry.
on.
All the best things sort of happen like that. They bubble up out of necessity or by accident, like a happy accident.
Yeah,
Rather than sitting down and planning it, you can just plan forever and not actually do it. So that's a good way for the show to be born.
100%. That's not planned and just spontaneous. Making the best out of it. And yeah, The problem here is that in the past, I've been thinking about like starting a podcast with people here, maybe training partners from Jiu-Jitsu. But, when I mentioned, when we do it, we got to do it in English, because if you do it in German or whatever, or Portuguese, it won't work. And they're like, I don't know, man, speaking English for an hour or more, I don't know if that works. I'm like, okay. Then it won't work,
I didn't think of that. It's how often do you speak English in your daily life?
Not really that much, actually.
Right.
Mostly, I'd say I'm speaking English most times on Twitter, like in written form, and through Skype and through the podcast, I've been talking or speaking more English, actually, because here I mostly speak German, and Spanish, Portuguese, but that's about it.
So are they all the language you speak? That's 4 languages, isn't it?
Yeah, and Italian a little bit, and French a little bit. But Italian and French I can communicate a little bit and understand it, but I'm not really that fluid in Italian and French. But yeah, the other 4 works out pretty well.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I was listening to one of your episodes. I think it might have been Joe from World of Rock Records, and you did a bit of a poll from the people that you go to university with to see who has heard of a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And there was about 20%. And I assume they're young people too. So it's kind of the same here, where I've sort of given up telling people that that's what I do. I just leave it to... Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it was even, did I say 20%? I don't remember really, maybe even less, but yeah, I did this little poll or survey or whatever you call it, and asking around like maybe 80 to 100 people at university, and yeah, like you say, less than 20% knew what a podcast was or ever listened to one. So it's really maybe in the US it's a lot bigger. A lot more people have it in their daily lives, but yeah, it's not really. Some people know it and listen to a lot of podcasts here, but mostly if you know what a podcast is, you listen to a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like once you get into it, it's you're in it.
You don't just dabble in it. You're right into it.
Oh, yeah.
I find that it's pretty much the same here. If someone does listen to a podcast, it's usually an established radio program, and it's just their excerpts that they've uploaded onto iTunes as another way to reach an audience.
Yeah.
It's not a podcast as such, and it's just impossible to explain to people. So I've just discovered that this sort of community that we're all involved in, there's enough people there, so it's kind of like a double life. It's like a Fight Club life where you've got your, your whatever on the surface, but this other whole community you're involved in, that's where the substance is.
100%. Yeah, I've talked about that on the podcast before as well, that through the whole Twitter thing and all the people we know on Twitter, we have like the same interests, and we like the same stuff, and we got someone to talk about that interest or that hobby we have. Like I always mention as the main example MMA, because here I train jiu-jitsu and they like MMA, they watch it, but I can talk about MMA and what's happening, but they're not really, everyday fans. They're just watching the big fights, and so I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of people on Twitter, like a water boxer, of course, and the New York General, you know him,
Oh yeah, yeah,
And yeah, a lot of other people who are really deep into MMA, know a lot about it, and are really interested and know about the history. So I really enjoy like talking about them, about just MMA, or even we've been watching fights too. Like when I stayed home to watch the fight sometime, we just had like a little Skype chat, and
oh yeah.
watch the fights this way, you know. So that's pretty fun too.
It's good. It's like we've found our tribe.
Yeah, exactly,
Everyone needs a tribe.
exactly.
Like I'm not big into MMA, but only because we need pay TV over here to really follow it,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which I don't have. So, but I love sport and I love martial arts as a pursuit. Not that I've dabbled a little bit in it, but I'd love to get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Adam Holcroft over here he just had his first tournament actually,
oh
and
yeah.
I think he went pretty well.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. That's
because it seems to be particularly with BJJ is that you can apply those fundamentals in your everyday life, that kind of philosophy.
Yeah, that's a very big point of jiu-jitsu, that you get humbled when you started. You get humbled all the time. Like you have to accept losing, and that's a very
Yeah,
very important lesson that it teaches you, that you grow by losing. So you get your ass kicked for the first couple months, and then you come back. I think Joey Diaz said it on his podcast, that after a couple months you get your ass kicked 4 days a week. Then you get better and you get your ass kicked 3 days a week, then 2 days a week, and the other days you kick the other guy's ass. So that's how it works. You get better, and you just this your skill gets better, and it's just a very good feeling to realize that you're really learning this skill, and at the same time overcoming the first couple months and weeks of losing and getting your ass kicked and being exhausted, and just in the beginning you feel helpless at some points. If you're going as a white belt, if you go against a blue belt or purple belt, you can't do shit, even if the guy's way smaller. It's really, Eddie Bravo also talks about that in jiu-jitsu there's no douchebags, because all the douchebags get like sorted out. They can't handle getting their ass kicked, or losing. So actually I have a brother, he's 2 years younger, and I tried to get him into jiu-jitsu as well, but he's like a little the impulsive guy, and very proud, so he couldn't handle it, just losing for the first. He stayed for like 2 weeks. Yeah, and he wasn't for him. That he just couldn't accept this time of losing.
Yeah, the ego gets a battering, but it has to be, you got to be broken down to grow.
Oh yeah, I mean
you need to change.
Like you said, that's a lesson not only for the sport that you're doing, but also for life. And
yeah,
at some point,
being humbled is a big part of growing and learning, isn't it? You can't grow without changing. So.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, in a very real way, a real world way too. Like if your ego just wants to remain intact in a situation like that, you get choked out. There's no sort of black or white, is there?
Yeah.
Or it is just black and white, rather.
I think it teaches you that if someone's better than you at something, you just have to accept it and have to listen and watch what the guy is doing. If he's obviously a lot better than you, don't overestimate yourself and think, yeah, I'm the real deal, I don't need to listen to that guy, no matter what it is. if it's playing an instrument or whatever, you know, you just gotta learn from the best. I mean, or learn from the ones who are obviously better than you, and realize
Yeah.
that you're not flawless, and you can always grow. That's a big lesson, I guess.
Well, you won't get anywhere faking the funk, will you?
Yeah, right.
Because that's what you're basically doing. If you're not willing to take on the knowledge of somebody else
Yeah.
and just submit and surrender to that, it's like a psychedelic experience.
Oh yeah.
Just be humbled and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, if you try to fight it, like if you're tripping your balls off on acid or whatever, and you try to fight it thinking that you're bigger than the experience, you know, and you're just trying to fight it, it won't work out at all. It's going to be a nightmare.
Terence McKenna likened that to a roller coaster. If you're in the roller coaster and the thing, the harness comes down on you, and then you're starting to go and you get a bit scared, you don't stand up and try to get out. You're going to kill yourself. You just got to hold on and just.
That's. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, he has so many good quotes, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really.
Well, actually, I think that's the point of the scene in Fight Club where Tyler Durden has Edward Norton. He's got the stuff on the back of his hand that's burning his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying you can fight this and make it worse by putting water on it, or you can accept that you're going to die, not believe you're going to die, but know it. And then he puts vinegar on his hand. It's like a learning experience.
Yeah.
Very painful and everything, but he had to surrender in order to learn.
Yeah, that's such a great movie too.
Yeah, I think about it all the time.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
I was thinking about it actually just before I came on. There's a part where Tyler Durden pulls a bloke out of the convenience store that's working in the convenience store, and he holds a gun to his head and says, "What is it you want to be?" And he couldn't answer him. Eventually he said, "I want to be a vet." And he said, "Oh, if you're not on your way to becoming a vet in the next 6 months, I'll come back and kill you." And I thought, I wonder how many people in the world can, if it was a matter of life and death, what is your life's ambition, if they could answer it? Because I think we could all, like Joe Rogan says all the time, if you don't have goals set up, you're living in a wishy-washy world, you're not going to get anywhere because you don't know what it is you want.
That's right. Always important to have certain goals, you know. Not even too far in the future maybe, but like, you know, in a couple of months I want to be at this point in jiu-jitsu, or I want to do this and that in a couple of months. So, and just have a bigger goal in the future that you're working up to, but like smaller goals on the way to keep you on track, kind of. Yeah.
As long as you're moving.
Exactly, yeah. Always forward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a good episode when he had Kevin Smith on, and he was talking about the filmmaker. He was talking about the same sort of thing. He said even if you just got to keep raising the bar, even if you just have the bar metaphorically on the ground and just step over it and say, well, there you go, I've just a tiny little goal. And just that sense of accomplishment, even if it's, I want to collect 100 baseball cards, and then you do it, and then you say, oh, what else can I do? And then just build on that.
Yeah.
And things can happen that you didn't even know that you were trying to do. So.
Yeah, you just gotta stay focused somewhat, you know, like Joe Rogan says, wishy-washy world, that's not gonna get you anywhere. If you're just waking up in the morning, or what am I going to do today, or whatever, you know. Just like no ambition, no goals. I don't know.
It's easy to become a mechanical man.
Yeah.
And just go through and not be conscious of what you're doing, and just go through the motions, come home, watch TV, go to bed, die.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad news about Robin Williams, right? man.
It was very sudden.
Oh yeah, I did not expect it. I mean, I've heard in the past that he had like problems with depression, but I wasn't really that aware of it, you know, because he wasn't that public in the last couple of years. Maybe he didn't make any huge movies, so wasn't really that aware about it. So,
Yeah, that's true. He hasn't really done a lot of stuff lately, has he?
no, I think yeah, he had problems with alcohol too, and what Joey Diaz mentioned also on his podcast, that he had like, I think he divorced his wife and had to pay like a crazy amount of money. So he got this television show apparently because he couldn't afford, you know, paying all the lawyers and stuff, and the whole, you know how it goes if there's some guy gets a divorce. He's remember how much Paul McCartney had to pay this one woman there? Like I don't know how much it was, like 400 million, something insane like that.
Jeez.
Like,
because he's worth over £1 billion or something.
He's losing almost half his fucking money. It's crazy. So yeah, it's definitely sad how he passed, you know. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad, and it's shocking because it's just not expected. Even if he did struggle with his state of mind and substance abuse and everything, it's still not what you expect.
No.
You know, only 63.
Yeah.
I was a pretty big fan of his too.
Oh yeah, me too. As a kid, I grew up on his movies, and not only like a lot of people, they just remember him maybe as the funny guy, but he also had some really serious roles, you know, like in with Al Pacino, Insomnia. I just watched it a couple of months ago, actually. It was on TV.
I've never actually seen that, but I heard he does a really good performance in it.
I think Al Pacino plays a cop, and Robin Williams, he's like a psychotic, crazy guy in some town and keeps stalking him, something like that. Or a 1 hour photo, you know, where he's the guy.
Oh yeah.
It's also like a stalker kind of role. So yeah. This was not like only the comedian, really. Or Good Will Hunting, he won an Oscar for that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Good Will Hunting is one that really changed the direction in my life, or it came along at a really interesting time. Well, I was doing all just menial labour, and then I decided to go back and study at uni, and that was sort of the message in that movie, the wasted potential, and really the protagonist was just doing that because he was scared, Matt Damon, and it was just out of fear. But yeah, his performance in that was really good, I thought.
Oh yeah,
he did it. I was talking to Mr. Dish about it one time, and she thought he pulled off a Boston accent pretty well.
I mean, I couldn't tell, but
right, yeah. Can you pick up English-speaking accents? Like the differences?
You mean from the US, different accents?
Yeah, or like English and Australian, or
and
stuff like that.
English and Australian definitely, but you know the different ones in the US, I don't know, not really.
Right.
Maybe the Boston accent, like Bill Burr, right?
Oh yeah.
That kind of East Coast. That's the most distinguishable, and you know, when you notice the most, maybe.
Yeah, Mish has got a real strong Boston accent. I should have her on Fizz Button, actually.
Oh yeah, that would.
There's so many people. Like I want to have you on as well, and trying to get around to everybody can be hard to manage.
Oh yeah, there's only so many Saturdays a month, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So maybe it's gonna. Yeah, meaning that you have so many people you want to have on means you got to keep the show going, you know. maybe
Yeah,
like for a couple months, you got people set up, or let's say you won't run out of gas. That's what I mean.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Right.
and people can come on again. Like Adam Ads is coming on again on Saturday.
Yeah. And to go back to just real quick, what I remembered, Robin Williams, this one movie, Dead Poets Society. Remember?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I remember we watched it in like 11th grade in English class, because our teacher was like a huge Robin Williams fan, and also we read a lot of books, and he was always he always thought that watching the movie adaptation of a book would help us to understand the book more, and also listening to English, helps, always helps. I mean, it's obvious. So yeah, we watched a ton of movies there. Like we even watched Scarface, Tony Montana,
Oh yeah.
because anti-hero and anti-hero, what else? Immigration, stuff like that, It kind of fit the topic there. Yeah, so
Right.
what's crazy about this whole thing now with Robin Williams is that this teacher, like a year ago, I talked to someone on Facebook who I went to school with, and this teacher, he killed himself too. He committed suicide as well.
Wow.
Because 1 year after I got out of school, he was like 64, and he got into, how do you say, pension.
Oh yeah.
He retired basically.
Right.
So he retired from teaching, and apparently had a divorce too with his wife. And from what I've heard, he just didn't know. He got depressed too, and didn't know what to do with his life anymore. After school, he didn't have this routine of getting up in the morning, going to school, and teaching. And yeah, couldn't handle it. So it's pretty crazy how those similarities or coincidences, I don't know how to call it, but
Yeah.
crazy how things go. Because when I saw that about Robin Williams, I remembered immediately. Like shit, I remember watching all those movies. Good Will Hunting, we watched that. Yeah, and Dead Poet Society. Yeah. It's kind
Yeah, he had a lot of big body of work.
Oh,
Over here, the day that he died, they put on a movie actually on TV, and I thought it was a good tribute, but also they're probably just looking for ratings as well.
oh yeah.
It was Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, can't really blame the TV station there. I mean, a lot of people would be maybe offended that they put on a movie for ratings and stuff, but it's also like paying respect to his work. And
Yeah. Well, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't.
exactly.
It,
Yeah.
it was good to watch it actually. I don't mind Mrs. Doubtfire as well.
Oh man,
It was
it's a good movie.
yeah, it's a vehicle for him. Like it's just a perfect vehicle to showcase his talents. And my wife was looking up. We always look up the trivia when we watch something on IMDb, and apparently that Mrs. Doubtfire was a character that he did with Andy Kaufman one time.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so he must have just had that one in that character in the chamber and developed it, and then they made a movie out of it.
Wow. Yeah, he
I'm
must.
a big fan of Andy Kaufman as well.
Yeah, that's the movie Jim Carrey made, right? About
Yeah,
Moon Man.
Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
Actually, that's another movie where someone known for comedy played a good dramatic role.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Jim Carrey.
I wasn't a big fan of Jim Carrey until that and Truman Show.
Oh yeah, Truman Show is such a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome movie. What's kind of funny is that well, after I watched that movie, I was like maybe 15 or 16 or even younger the first time I watched it. Probably even younger, like 13 or 14. And one time back then, I just started like, and I've never smoked weed before, and at some party, I was maybe 14 or 15. Like some guy had weed, an older guy, and we kept smoking. So I just figured it's like I had smoked cigarettes before, so I figured, yeah, that's just the same, right? So kept smoking, and after that, like for a couple days, I kind of because I had just watched the movie before, I kind of felt like almost a little paranoid, you know, that it all like
Yeah.
simulation, like crazy.
That's the part of the movie that that draws me in. Like I like to watch it every now and then. It's not so much the reality TV aspect, which it was sort of made before the boom of reality TV, but we've always had a feeling that the whole world is our imagination, or that there's a conspiracy that everybody's in on this joke, and you know, worlds that I had. I talked to Cleo about this. I'm bipolar, and I've had a series of sort of psychotic incidences and that, but that movie mirrors that experience a lot, which is a lot like if you're smoking pot or whatever. It's a similar sort of thing. But when I was manic, it felt that way, like the world that was a simulation and not quite real, and the joke was all on me. And
oh yeah,
if you look at the film from that way, like it's all in his mind, then that's the best way I could describe a manic episode. It's right on the money.
Yeah, who knows if maybe they even thought of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, well, there's always like a little bit behind the movie. I mean, the obvious is that, you know, there's this reality TV show and he doesn't know that he's in it and blah blah. The moon is actually the studio.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little more behind that, you know? What if
Yeah.
the whole reality he's in is a simulation, and the people around him, they don't even know that it's a simulation. There's not really that reality show aspect, as you said.
Yeah.
So
it seemed to me like the reality TV show part of it was just a way to tell the story. Like it's just a vehicle to tell the story. And that's interesting if the other characters don't even know that they're in on it, and he's just having an awakening and realizing that the physical world is only one aspect of reality. And when you do figure that stuff out, you do tend to one of the symptoms is risk taking. You know, when he's going around in his car, around and around in the roundabout to test out the reality he's in, all that kind of stuff. Because you'll go through a series of things to test your mortality, to see if this thing is actually real that we're in. So
you're putting yourself in danger to test it out, kind of?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's one of the symptoms is risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
People do silly things.
Wow, and, that's interesting, though.
So, yeah. So people can die, and it'll be put down to, oh yeah, well, he's manic depressive, he committed suicide, but often it could be that you were testing your mortality. You're in a different sort of strata of reality.
And not even aware that you're putting yourself in danger, or, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Like, that's in a movie, it gets, at some point it gets a little creepy almost when he's trying to get out of the town. And he's like not giving a shit anymore, saying, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. And then they're like faking like radiation stuff, you know, outside of the town.
Yeah.
And they're like faking it, you can't get past here and stuff. And then they make this fire in the forest and stuff, so you can't drive further. Yeah, it's kind of.
I love all that stuff. And then when he goes to get a plane ticket to go to Fiji, and all of the paraphernalia around the travel agent is like lightning storms, terrorism, all this stuff
Oh
to
yeah.
keep him,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
so that
yeah.
he's fearful and won't. And that sort of is another comment on our society, that if you watch enough news, you'll believe that the world
Yes.
is a scary place. Don't bother. This is going to happen to you. That's going to happen to you. Don't trust your neighbor. Don't trust anybody. And it's keeping us all from realizing that we're just this one big being, which is why I tend to turn my back on mass media and involve myself more in podcasts and the podcast community, because what we're doing is telling each other our story. We're sharing hobbies. We're realizing that it doesn't matter where you live.
Oh yeah.
We're all the same.
Definitely. Yeah, that's like the ending of the movie is when he's like on this boat, right, on the ocean, because
Yeah.
they faked the story about him losing his dad there in a storm and stuff. So
Yeah.
he's kind of fighting it and trying to sail as far as he can, and then he just hits this fake wall, you know.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
That remembers that always when I play video games, like I don't know if you know this game, but Fallout 3. Like it's like a huge open world game, but it's almost the same, that when you get on to the edge of the map, there's like this invisible wall.
Yeah.
So that kind of always reminds me
Yeah.
of that movie. Then I mean, that movie from when is that movie, from '94?
It's going back a fair way,
I think 90.
at least 15 years.
Yeah, I think it came out around the time Forrest Gump came out too. Let's see real quick. Don't mind the typing sound.
It might have been 99.
Oh, 98. 98.
98.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little later than Forrest Gump is from '94. So yeah, Truman Show.
Yeah, that part when he's in the boat, that's an allegory of someone choosing freedom over comfort,
Oh yeah,
which comes back to psychedelia or martial arts, where do you want to be free or do you want to just be comfortable? And your ego will tell you, you're all that, you're the shit. Don't worry, you don't have to test yourself. Just be comfortable, and you will never realize anything that way. But it's so easy to be comfortable, though, isn't it?
100%. And they all also, he's overcoming his biggest fear, because when they faked his dad dying there in the storm, he always had this crazy fear of, you know, the water and storms and stuff. So he's overcoming that. He's overcoming that to just see what's out there, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very well done movie.
Because he was bound by the ocean, that was keeping him from the truth. That fear was keeping him from the truth.
Oh yeah, that's in another game, like just recently, what came out last year, GTA 5. When it's a huge game, a huge map, like Southern California, Los Angeles is called Los Santos. It's this huge map. You got ocean around it. It's basically an island. You got ocean around it. If you go on a boat and drive out in the ocean, at some point when the map is basically over, your boat just starts sinking. You can't do anything with it. It's kind of creepy. You just sit on your boat and you can't get out, and it just keeps sinking to the ground of keeps sinking and sinking. There's not even a bottom of the ocean, because they didn't program it like this. It's kind of creepy. Because they wanted to go against this invisible wall thing, you know.
Right.
That's how it goes. Maybe even, I mean, back then in '98, games weren't that advanced, so maybe, who knows? Maybe they got some inspiration from that in some way.
Yeah, maybe.
Those open world games, you know, because open world, yeah, but only open to some degree, you know.
Right. Yeah. I haven't been into games for a long time.
Yeah, me a lot.
They started getting a bit complicated for me, so, and I didn't have the patience for it. But I like the sound of the ones where you build a world, and that's what D City All Star that I had on last week. He was into Second Life. That kind of stuff sounds interesting.
That's Second Life. That's a whole nother thing, man. That's you got this game like without any guidelines. Basically, you make a character and you make the game. Like there's no rules really. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You know, there's no no rules set really.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
So just to get a little bit to another topic, because you said you're also a little bit into MMA. You follow it and the big fights. You see?
Yeah, I don't really get to watch it. I only really can follow it through what people discuss on podcasts. But I really like it, but I don't really get to follow it. If I could, I would.
Yeah, when we're off air, I'm gonna hook you up with something.
Oh, cool.
There's always ways, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just recently there was a fight announced. John Jones against Alexander Gustafsson. The rematch was announced for end of September. Then, just to break it down, the whole setup to this crazy story that Alexander Gustafsson got injured. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think his knee, the ACL, something like that, or meniscus. So he's out for a while. Then Daniel Cormier replaced Gustafsson, and he was gonna face John Jones at UFC 178. And then they were John Jones and Daniel Cormier there at the press conference, having a stare down, and actually they're getting into a fight after John Jones puts his forehead against Daniel Cormier's head. Cormier pushes him away. The guy in the middle, like a UFC guy, not Dana White, like some other guy, he gets pushed off the stage, and the whole thing falls down, and they're brawling right there in the lobby of the I think the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. You know, there's a ton of people there. If you see the video, they're like on the ground and security jumping on them. So yeah, short story, huge hype for this fight. You can imagine.
Right.
People see that. I want to see that fight right now. And just yesterday, bad fucking news. John Jones injures his ankle. Fight is postponed until January. So yeah.
Oh, right.
Big bummer.
So big build up and then disappointment.
Big disappointment. Big. I mean,
yeah.
This was huge hype, you know, like people say it's bad for the sport if they're fighting at the press conference or, you know, before the fight, this kind of incident. But on the other hand, there's a lot of media reporting on it that normally wouldn't report on it, and it gets a lot of attention, and attention means money, pay-per-view buys. So,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, they gotta be bummed out now. I mean, that would have been a huge pay-per-view for them. Because this whole card, end of September, there's this Irish guy, Conor McGregor, who's like a huge rising star out of Ireland.
Oh, yeah?
He's awesome. He's featherweight, 145 pounds. Really, he's a big talker. Like, of himself as the best. But yeah, he won 3 fights in UFC now, so he's coming up and he's fighting Dustin Poirier, which would be a great fight. But now that the main event, John Jones Cormier, is off, they put Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson against Chris Carriazo. You know, this the flyweight champion, 125. And you know, I'm not hating on the lower weight classes, but it's a fact that they won't pull the same pay-per-view numbers with this kind of main event because people are just not that interested in the smaller guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People want to see some brute force going head to head.
Yeah, the majority of the fan base, definitely.
Yeah, the mainstream. When these fighters are training, do they concentrate, or is it equal? Do they concentrate more on the ground game or the striking, or like is it all equally as important? Because most fights go to ground, don't they?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the fighter, what his base is, his base martial art. If a wrestler, he's gonna focus more on developing his striking, I guess, and
Yeah, right.
and pure, let's say, jiu-jitsu black belts who come into MMA. That's what Eddie Bravo often says that pure jiu-jitsu guys, they're making the mistake of trying to become badass strikers. They're just focusing on stand-up striking, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, and they're not focusing on wrestling, where they could take someone down and actually implement their world-class jiu-jitsu. And that's what happens.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's what happens a lot, man. Like badass jiu-jitsu guys, they get in there and they think of themselves, they maybe get a knockout in a fight, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a badass kickboxer now.
Yeah.
And they face someone who's just better than them at standing, and they have no chance at taking the guy down, and they get their ass beat, It happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get tangled up in, because Muay Thai, if I did anything, it was that. I didn't stick with it for long because I moved and all this other shit. But I got right into it for a while, and it was a very effective.
Oh yeah.
Form, because you're always, when you're training, you're striking. You're not sort of fucking around with what do they call it in karate? Those all those things you have to learn.
Forms.
Pardon?
Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
That to me, they didn't seem to have any real world application.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the kneeing and the elbows and everything in Muay Thai, you could see yourself using that to get out of a situation.
Oh man, definitely. Like Muay Thai, more straightforward, and you have a lot of weapons. Your body has a lot of weapons, like not only boxing, your hands, but also your elbows, headbutts if you want from the Thai clinch, all those things. Yeah, I did Muay Thai too for a while. After I played soccer for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And then I just quit, I had enough and got into Muay Thai first and Jiu-Jitsu at the same time. But Muay Thai I had a couple of knee issues already from soccer.
Oh yeah.
I figured, man, I'm just gonna stick to like Jiu-Jitsu. It's a bit better on the body and you're not getting messed up all the time, because I mean, if you did Muay Thai, you know about leg kicks, right?
Yeah.
Kicked on leg, and that I don't want that anymore.
Yeah, fuck that. Oh, you were talking. I was listening to one of your episodes. You're talking about in jiu-jitsu, at least when you're doing it, you're not going to walk away with like a fracture or a black eye or something like that. Like you'll get choked out, but you won't necessarily get hurt, and that's a good. So it's for everybody in that regard.
Yeah,
and that's a part of it that it appeals to me. And I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to get into it," which I would. But yeah, that's something that and also the application of jiu-jitsu it'd come in so handy just to get yourself out of trouble if ever it did arise.
Yeah, that's what do I want to say? Yeah, about the whole getting messed up in training. I mean, if you join, Lucas kept talking about it when he did boxing. For the first couple of weeks in boxing sparring, he got beat up, because there's a lot of douchebags there. See the new guy, and they just use him as a training dummy. They just they punch the shit out of you. In jiu-jitsu, you tap, you get in a chokehold, you just tap and it's over. I mean, you can get injured, maybe a broken arm, popped elbow, something with your knee. It always happens. It can happen, but like someone injuring you on purpose, that's not gonna happen. I've never seen that.
Right.
So maybe in a tournament, if you go 100%, and someone cranks a little too hard on a knee bar or whatever, your knee gets a little fucked up. I mean, that's part of the game in some way. But
Yeah.
the big part is you don't get head trauma. You don't get punched in the head or get any concussion.
Exactly.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
As you said, for like application of jiu-jitsu in daily life or getting out of situations, I always say for little kids, it's a very good way to de-escalate situations. Because if a kid is in school and gets in a fight and punches the other kid in the face just to defend himself, but the kid who's defending himself breaks the other kid's nose,
Yeah.
that kid's in trouble. But if the kid defending himself knows some jiu-jitsu in some one-on-one confrontation and gets him in like some kind of controlling position where the other guy is defenseless in some way, not choking him out or breaking his arm, but just to the point where the other guy can't attack him anymore. That's just de-escalating.
Yeah. Just neutralize the threat.
Exactly.
And then it's all over.
Yeah.
No one's really hurt. There's no visible sort of indication that anyone's been in any altercation. The other thing about striking someone to the head is that the impact when they hit the ground, they could fall awkwardly on a park bench or something and die.
That's bad.
And yeah.
In street fights.
And oh yeah.
That's people will say now, yeah, come on, jiu-jitsu, it doesn't work in when you have to defend yourself. I mean, it does work. Of course, it doesn't work always. Nothing works.
Nothing does. Yeah.
And speaking of, like you said, falling on concrete, what's very vicious in like self-defense situation. If you get into something with someone who knows judo, that's so fucking vicious on the street. If someone gets a hold of you and you're wearing a jacket and does this hip throw thing on concrete, man, you're done. That's the worst things that can happen. Like if you watch Ronda Rousey throwing people around the octagon and they get like this last girl, Ronda just hit her one time in the face, then kneed her in the stomach, and she did the judo throw and just the whole body weight on her too on the ground, and just this almost knocked the girl out. She was out from the throw after throwing her.
Shit.
That's on concrete. That would be, that's, you could kill someone like that. That's very bad.
Yeah. And once that happens, that's the end of your life.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah. You don't recover from something like that.
100%.
Not in a hurry.
So, just to get into the next UFC card, just some little predictions real quick, because there has been a little bit of a break. People keep talking about how there's too many UFC cards these days and no one knows anymore what's going on, but UFC just had like almost a 3-week break. So this Saturday, first event in a while. It's not that big of an event, but it's a small fight night on, I think in the US on Fox Sports 1, something like that. It's not that big of a card. I'm just gonna go, because we always kind of do this if something comes out, a card is upcoming and we just mention or give our predictions. So then let's go. Just the last 3 fights. Brad Tavares against Tim Boetsch, or Boetsch, or whatever his name is. I'm gonna go, just real quick, in this one with Tavares by decision. If you're aware of some fighter, just tell me. Let's see if you got some.
Yeah, I can't really wade in on the conversation too much, but I'll listen to you.
Next one, co-main event, Ross Pearson against Gray Maynard. Gray Maynard making his comeback after a long layoff against Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson got robbed against Diego Sanchez. He clearly won the fight, but the judges were once again drunk as shit and gave it to Diego Sanchez. So yeah, they're colliding in the co-main event, and I'm not that sure about this one. But Gray Maynard's chin has really been looking very weak lately. He got knocked out twice, I think. So I'm going with Ross Pearson also by decision there. And then main event, Ryan Bader against Owens St. Preux. Wow, that's tough. Sometimes I don't know, but I just go Bader by decision. He's probably physically a little bit stronger, more power in his hands, and probably the better wrestler, so gotta go with him.
How do your predictions usually pan out?
I'd say like overall probably like 60% right, at least, I guess.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's most times it works out. But that's
sorry. I have a football podcast that I do with my brother. That's live every Thursday night, and we do predictions. We call them tips. And I usually I have this tendency to go with the team that I want to win, rather than it's head versus heart.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I don't really do that well. So it's a similar thing to what you're doing here.
Yeah, but I always try to just look at the matchup, the strengths and weaknesses, how it compares, how the fighter was doing recently. And of course sometimes I'm just neutral, I don't care who wins. I'm just giving a prediction. But sometimes obviously I like a fighter more than the other. But I'm trying to be realistic, If it's a bad matchup for my favorite fighter, I'm gonna say, that's a bad matchup. he probably won't win this one. Yeah, I'm trying. But yeah, you mean football? You mean soccer, right?
No, this is Australian football.
Oh, okay.
So it's not soccer or rugby.
Okay.
It's a whole other thing that we only do. Actually, people laugh at it, but there's an Australian rules World Cup happening in Australia at the moment, which is all countries except Australia, because it just wouldn't work if there was an Australian team in it. But yeah, I think there's something like 20 countries involved.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of a following overseas.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've heard about Australian football, but I think I've never seen it.
If you watched it on YouTube or something, you'd probably think it looked pretty strange. But but it's a full contact sport. It's very athletic. So there's tackling, running, jumping, and of course kicking.
But they're wearing protection like in American football, or nothing like rugby?
No pads.
Okay.
At all.
Okay, like rugby, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think because when they have, just on mixed martial arts, when they have when there's a fight in the game, they're not allowed to strike each other anymore, which is probably a good thing. You'll get suspended and won't be able to play anymore, but it usually turns into a wrestle. And so people who like rugby tend to sort of criticize it a bit, that the fights are really lame. But it turns into sort of a wrestle, which is kind of like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu wrestle when they have a brawl. And I reckon they'd benefit a lot from knowing a few moves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. So they're allowed to fight as long as they're not punching each other?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
They might get a fine.
Mm.
But I think that's okay, because it's such a high. It's becoming more and more intense. The game, it's quicker, and you need an outlet, especially when someone's mouthing off, when they're trying to get under the skin of someone else, and they retaliate, and it turns into a fight.
Fuck yeah!
There's a lot of pressure, and and also the crowd love it. You love a bit of a stare.
People always against violence, but some people as some people would say, or our friend New York General, he would say, pussification of people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So come on, man, a little fighting, a little violence. I mean, come on, no big deal.
It's part of our primal makeup. You know, that it's the oldest. If you want to talk about sports, it's the oldest sport there is. Or that, and probably running a race.
Yeah, wrestling, right? That's one of the oldest, like grappling.
Yeah, it's strength versus strength. And the people who are against violence are usually the people who don't want to compete, who don't want to. They're inadequate.
Almost,
because they know they'd get beaten up.
Yeah.
Of course, going around hurting people is bad, but a contest between two willing combatants is the best sort of theatre that you could ever have, I reckon.
Yeah, that's just to close on this one, maybe, because it's an important issue and story that maybe you heard about it. This MMA fighter who's calling himself War Machine.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, he changed his name to War Machine a while ago. I think his real name is like John Copenhaver, something like that. And he's like a mid-tier MMA fighter, not like, never fought in the UFC, I think, like Bellator fighter. And he's been in jail before because of some stuff. I don't exactly remember what. But yeah, he's been together with this porn star, Christy Mack.
Right.
They're a couple. And now it turns out that he showed up at her house and beat her up so bad. She had, I read this report, she had 18 broken bones.
Fuck.
Ruptured liver. He cut off her hair with a knife and threatened her with a knife.
Oh.
Crazy shit like that. So she barely survived, actually.
Wow.
Kind of escaped from the house and ran to the neighbor's house, and then they called the cops. And now he's on a run. Well, it's the crazy part. He's on a run. Police hasn't caught him yet, so.
Where is this? In America?
Yeah, in America, California.
Wow.
Was all over.
See, that's an idiot. That's a pussy. Like,
yeah.
He's not tough or mean or anything.
He's a failure that he doesn't get his shit done in a sport. He's not successful. He keeps losing, and there's nothing more disgusting if someone who's really a trained fighter, like mixed martial arts, not only jiu-jitsu but also stand-up fighting, like a legit killer basically, and he uses his skill against an untrained person. That's fucking disgusting to me.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's terrible, and he is not defending himself. If he breaks 18 bones and ruptures a liver and whatnot, that he's trying to say, that's the funny part about, or funny, not really funny, but the strange part, that he's on a run, but he kept tweeting stuff.
Really?
I had to defend myself and stupid crazy shit like that.
Oh, fuck.
There's like losers out there who like, yeah, we only heard her side of the story. What about his side? And, shut the fuck up.
No.
What the fuck? That's.
What would she do to deserve that?
Yeah.
Even if she's the biggest pain in the ass in the world, nothing. And it comes down to that thing you're talking about with being humble. The best fighters have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let anything like that get them to.
And he also seems like a total nutcase.
Yeah, that's another part of it.
So that's dangerous if someone has this kind of skill or aggression.
Yeah.
And like I said, uses it against an untrained person, and even worse, against a woman. I mean, that's just fucked.
That's the lowest. That's lowest of the low.
Lowest of the low, indeed. That's just so fucked up.
Especially to go around calling yourself War Machine.
That's ridiculous. It's his real name now. He like legally changed it or some crazy shit like that. Like.
Is he still on? Sorry.
Yeah, he's still on. You mean he's still on the run?
Yeah.
As far as I've heard, they didn't catch him yet.
Jeez.
He's somewhere. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna catch him. He's gonna end up in jail for prison for a long time this time, because he's been in prison before for some kind of aggression. 2 years, I think.
he'll get some pretty harsh treatment in prison too, you'd think,
Yeah, maybe.
which he would deserve.
Yeah, some guy like that is just not made for society, I guess.
No.
Better be locked up. I mean, just disgusting. I saw those pictures. Actually, there were like reports of and pictures of her injuries. You know,
Right.
man, it was really. It was. I tweeted about it too. It was like sickening when I saw it. I heard about it, but I didn't really expect. I didn't expect it to be that bad. You know. And when I saw the pictures, man, holy shit! Oh my god,
Fuck.
really bad. So let's hope. Let's all hope he gets caught soon and gets locked up.
Yes.
No one needs a guy like that running around.
No, it's a bad combination. Like a coward with some sort of training.
Yeah,
it's fallen into the wrong hands.
That's really. So yeah, sorry to end with this kind of bad story, but yeah, I think it's important that people are aware of it, you know, and I think even it's important that those pictures of the injuries are out there, because I tweeted about this too, that it stops the ignorant guys who are defending him. You know, it lets them see that what really happened. You know, if you see those pictures, there's no way you can defend the guy. I mean, what could she do? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So just hoping that he gets caught soon. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Danny, thank you very much, man.
No, thank you, Leon. So, it was great talking to you and good to be on the show.
Early for you in the morning. Yeah. To all our listeners, check out Danny Pin at DannyPin1 on Twitter, and DannyPin.net for his show every Saturday as of now, right?
That's right. Yeah, I've kept it up this far, so there's no point not doing it now. So
yeah. So yeah, I'm sure most listeners already they know your show, but you know, check it out. Also, past episodes always great to listen to. Just real quick, because different guests show different tastes in music. Like Constantine Rain, hip hop, more like hip hop based, and Lady J, like dance music, as far as I remember. Then World of Rock Records, like a solid mix of stuff. You know, it's always interesting how different styles of music and different tastes in music.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much, and see you next time on Don't Fake the Funk.